All right, today we're going to talk about graphing a piecewise function. And the main thing you need to know about piecewise functions is that you'll be graphing more than one piece of information on the same graph paper. And piecewise function means instead of seeing an entire line, you're just going to see a piece of it. So now if we jump right in with our examples, looking at the first one, you will notice it has 2 rows. And I always start with the right part, I guess, if you want to say. And that's the part that has the inequalities. So, kind of over here to my side, I'm looking at x is less than 1 for the top row. Okay, the number 1 right here, that tells you that you are going to make a vertical dashed line going through that number. So, go to the x axis, find 1, and make a vertical dashed line. The reason we're making it vertical is it's not really part of the answer. It's just there to help me get the answer. Okay? Now, the part of the line that I'm going to keep is either going to be to the right of my dashed line or to the left of my dashed line. To help me figure that out, I look at the inequality. And if I look at the inequality here, this inequality says less. And if it says less, that means you're keeping the portion of the line that is to the left. Okay. Now, the right part, the right side over here, it looks like negative x plus 2. And that kind of looks like mx plus b. So we can graph that normally. Graph the y-intercept first. So we're going to graph 2 on the y-axis. So go up to 2, put a dot on the y-axis. My slope would be negative 1 over positive 1. Remember to only use the negative one time. So from this dot, I'm going to go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And then I can also, as soon as I fill up my graph paper, I can also use my slope backwards. So backwards, I can go up 1 and left 1. Okay. And normally in the past, we would have just drawn a line through all those dots and put an arrow on each side and called it done. But here, I only want a certain portion. And up here in green, we said less was left. So what I want to do is I want to keep the portion of the line that goes from my dotted vertical line toward the left. And then the dots that are on the right side of my dashed line, I'm going to come in and erase those because I don't want the right side, I want the left side. Now, before we call row 1 done, the only other thing we need to know is right here where the dashed line and my other line intersect. Is it going to be an open circle or is it going to be a closed circle? Okay. And what you need to know is if it doesn't have the or equals to bar, so if it's just less or greater, then that's an open circle. If it has the or equal to bar underneath of it, then that would be a closed circle. And ours doesn't have the bar, so then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make an open circle above that dot there. Or you can erase it and put an open circle there. And that's row 1. So now we're just going to repeat this process over again for row 2. So the number with row 2 over here on the right side is 1, which we already have our dashed line. So wonderful. This time it says greater, and greater is to the right. So now I'm looking at 2x minus 5 to graph it. So graph -5 on your y-axis. And then my slope would be +2 over +1. So up to right 1, up to right 1. And then I'm going to keep doing this to fill my paper. Now here, do I have to use my slope backwards? Should I go down 2 and left 1? Well, if I do that, that's putting dots on the left side. And we said we were not keeping the left side. We were only keeping the right side. So there's no reason for me to put any more dots on the right or on the left side. So here I'm just going to draw the line on the right portion. Boom. I'm going to erase my dot on the left. And then where the two intersect, this one has the or equals to bar, so this one should be a closed circle right here. And then I'm done. Now, one thing you should notice is that you have one line going to the left and one line going to the right. You should never have two lines going to the left or two lines going to the right. There needs to be one in each section, okay? So there should be no overlapping. All right, so let's go on to question number 2. Okay, my dash line is going to go right here at -4. So on the x-axis, make a dash line here at -4. It says less, and less is to the left. Okay, so when I go to graph -x minus 5, remember, -5 goes on the y-axis. And then my slope would be -1 over +1. Remember to only use the negative one time. So I'm going to go down 1, right 1. But if I do that, that's going to get me a bunch of dots on the right side. And I don't really want the dots on the right side. I want the dots on the left side. So I would do my slope backwards. So I'm going to go up and left, up and left, up and left, up and left. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I fill my paper. Okay, so then I'm going to draw the line to the left. I'm going to erase the dots on the right side. Now, the only thing I have to decide is open or closed circle. This one does not have the or equals to bar, so this should be an open circle. So I'm going to put a big open circle over that one. Okay, row 2. On row 2, we have our dash line at -4 already drawn in. Check. This one says greater, and greater is to the right. Okay, and when I'm graphing this one, I'm going to start on the y-axis at -1. And then my slope, I'm going to think of it as -5 over +2. So down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of go off my graph paper and then go over 2. Now, I do have dots on the right side, but I got to know where this line is going to meet up with my dashed one. So I do need to use my slope backwards until I can get to the dashed line. So now I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2. Still not at my dashed line, so let's do it again. Up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2. You're going to notice, hey, now I finally hit my dash line. This one has the or equals to, so this is going to be a closed dot. And then we are keeping the portion to the right. And I didn't have any dots over here on the left side to erase, so we're done. Okay, now we're going to add some more to it. Okay, we're going to add some more parts. So let's get started. On this one, our dash line is going to be at 0, so it's going to be right on top of the axis for the y. And it says x is less, and less is to the left. And then I want to graph negative x minus 4. So we're going to start with negative 4 on the y. And then my slope is negative, so that would be negative 1 over positive 1. So down 1, right 1. But if I do that, that's putting dots on the right side. And I don't want dots on the right side. I want dots on the left side. So let's do our slope backwards. So up and to the left. Up and to the left. And then I'm just going to do that until I fill out the graph paper here. Now, where they intersect, this one does not have the or equals to bar, so this needs to be an open circle here. I'm going to keep all the dots to the left, and then I'm going to come in and erase any of the dots on the right side. Now, whoa, put the brakes on. We got something new here. Okay. If you look at the inequality, here you have 0 is less than x, which is less than 1. Hopefully everybody notices, look right here, I got 2 inequalities. And if I have 2 inequalities, there's not a left side or a right side. This one is saying your answer will be between these 2 numbers. So each one of those numbers is going to have a dash line, and then your answer is only between dash line to dash line. So let me go put the other dash line in. I got one at 0, check. Let's go put a dash line in at 1. So then I'm coming in here at 1. And I have a very small amount of space to put my answer. But my answer should be somewhere in here between the 2 dash lines. Now, the next new thing is, hey, let's look over here on the beginning side. And on the beginning side, we have just the number 2. There's no x. So if you have just a number, then that means it's a horizontal line, not a diagonal line. Okay? So what that means is you go to the y-axis, find the number 2, which is right here, and then you're going to draw a horizontal line between dashed to dashed. Now, the other thing we have to do is we have to look at open or closed circles. Next to 0, it has the or equals to bar, so that should be closed. Now, next to 1, that one does not have the or equals to bar, so everybody good, that should be open. Okay, then we're going to move on. Moving on. Third one. Oh, third one, I got another between. I got 2 inequalities. So once again, here's my shorthand for between, B/W. All right, so we got a dash line at 1. Let's go put a dash line at 2. And once again, we got a very small window. My answer should be between these 2 dash lines. Okay, this time it has an X, so we're going to go back to a diagonal line. So I'm going to start at 3 on the y-axis. Then my slope, I'm going to go down 1, right 1. Well, I already have an open circle there. Okay. Down 1, right 1. And I don't want to go any farther because remember, we're just going from dash line to dash line. So here, I'm just drawing in this little bitty diagonal line. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to erase this blue dot over here that was on the axis because it wasn't between my 2 dashed lines. Now, at 1, it should be open, which I already have an open circle. Yay. And then 2, this one has the bar, so it should be closed, which I already have. Yay. Third row's done. Okay, fourth row. Well, this one is another between because I got two inequalities. So let's go put a dashed line at 6. So at least here I have a little bit more space, but my answer is going to be somewhere in between these two dashed lines. And when I get over to the right side, you're going to notice it has just the number 1. So if it's just a number, then it's a horizontal line. So go on the y-axis to 1. Okay. Go over to our blue dashed line and our yellow dashed line, and we're going to put a horizontal line there. Boom. Now, 2 has the or equals to, so that's going to be closed, which we already have a closed circle right there. Check. 6 does not, so we're going to put an open circle right there, and we're done. Okay, last problem. Okay, the first row, when I look at it, it's between, because we have two inequalities. So go put a dashed line through -8 and a dashed line through -2. And then remember, our answer is somewhere between these two dashed lines. And if I look on the beginning side, it says just -1, no x, which means horizontal line. So here's -1 on the y. And then you want to go over and make a line from dash to dash. So here's -1 on the y. We're making a dash line, or a solid line between the two dashes. Neither one of these inequalities have the or equals to, so we're going to make both of these open circles. Now the middle one, watch out, the middle one has, well, I guess I'm jumping the gun. Hold on. Let's look at the inequality part. It's another between, so let's go put a dashed line at 4. So remember, your answer has to be between these two dashed lines. And now when you look over at the beginning side, you're going to see it's an absolute value. And what do we remember about absolute value? Absolute value is a V shape. And you have to know the slope and the starting point. Okay, the slope is the number in front of the absolute value, so that's 1/2. And starting point, remember, change, keep. So change the sign of the number inside the absolute value, so -2 becomes +2. Keep the same sign at the end, which is +3. So plot your starting point. So right 2, up 3. Now from here, we're going to do our slope. So our slope is up 1, right 2. Now this hits my dashed line. So right here, you're going to stop on the right side. But remember, to get the V shape, you have to go on the left side. So go back to your starting dot, go up 1 and left 2. Now we're still not at a dashed line, so do it again. Up 1, left 2. Now, when you draw this in, you're going to notice instead of looking like a natural V, oops, sorry, didn't mean to shrink the page. It's going to look like a lopsided V. So kind of like a backwards check mark. Both of these have or equals to, so make sure that both of these dots here are solid. Now, the last one we got, okay, we already have a dashed line at 4. This one only has one inequality, so if it has one inequality, this is where you go back to left or right. This is greater, so greater means right. And when I look at the beginning side, it has just the number 2. Just the number 2 is a horizontal line. So find 2 on the y. Go over to where it meets my dash line. And we're going to draw a horizontal line forever to the right. And then this one doesn't have the bar, so where it intersects, make that an open circle, and we are done.